Okay. Hey guys, still waiting for Dr. Lamb to join us. We just got off of a Zoom session about 3 minutes ago, so I'm still waiting for him to join us. Okay.
Bye.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
Hey. Still waiting for Dr. Lamb to join us.
Is this the number that starts with 2?
290-202.
It's not letting me in.
That's what I think.
It says no, I'm gonna have to switch.
Okay.
Okay, I got it now. Switch browsers.
Okay.
All right, so it's going to let me.
We've got a good group tonight, a lot of them. Tell me when you're ready for the number.
Oh, he's trying to take me back to. Okay. 2
290-202-4103.
No, I'm supposed to be in class right now.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
I got
Bye-bye.
you. Okay.
All right.
Okay, let me manage participants. Let me find your name, Dr. Lamb.
I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Okay. More. Make host. Okay, I have made you the host, Dr. Lamb.
All right. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. All right. Let's start out with questions. Emily, I see that quizzical look on your face right in the middle of my screen. All right. Tell me what question you have. I know you've got one.
Yeah. Can you hear me, or am I
I can
muted?
hear you. I can hear you. You're loud and clear.
Awesome. Okay. I guess my biggest thing is for this task 2, you want us to video it, or you do not want us to video it, or you don't care?
That would be up to Dr. Stedman. I don't have a preference. I don't really need it.
And somebody emailed me earlier today or texted me, I can't remember. At this point, it's, it doesn't, I'm going to leave it up to the teams at this point. Dr. Lamb's going to talk about, he's going to talk about peer reviewing, and he's going to talk about, those responsibilities. So you may decide after that. At this point, we're not going to push that. If you feel comfortable with it and you want to try it, then we're okay with it. But we're not going to make it a mandatory thing at this point.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That's it for now. But I'll have more later. So.
Oh, I know you will. All right.
Dr.
So
Lamb,
the notion here is
everybody that if there's other people with them, to please mute where they are, so that we don't have to hear the background noise.
That's my children. I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's okay.
I muted her. All right, we're good to go. All right. It's the first time that's ever happened. We'll start out with peer review. First time, first task, we ask you to look at them. Second time, task 2, we want you to use the peer review form. Third time, or the third task, that's really the first time that we're going to require that you do a Zoom group review where you share your written reviews with each other. Now, when we talk about doing a Zoom review, it's not just get on and have a chat. You've already done the review of your peers' work, and you've written it out. And you can read it, and you share that with them, and you interact through the video. The reason why we're not having you do that until the third time, the third task, is we want you to focus on the rubric and the content of the work rather than being on Zoom and being a video star. Once you figure out that the whole point is to follow the rubric and follow the directions and make sure that you've hit the rubric, all this becomes fairly easily. To that end now, please remember that I sent you this week.
Dr. Lamb, while you're finding that, I do want to tell them while you're finding that for the most part, you and I both are very pleased with how things have ended and the work that has come in. I have seen a lot of hard work has gone in. There's still some things that's got to be cleaned up with some of them, but for the most part, most of you are on the right track, and the ones that weren't, I've communicated with you personally, and you're getting on the right track. But overall, it has been what I received Sunday night. I was very pleased with things that I was seeing coming in. So thank you for the hard work. I know it's been a big transition with school starting, and some of you were in the eye of the storm and everything going on, but you've done a good job. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. We were just bragging on y'all. We were just in a 6 o'clock coaches meeting, coaches and instructors, and we were just telling them what a good job y'all are doing. So don't make us look bad. So Dr. Stedman's a real good instructor. I'm just barely getting by as a coach. So y'all got to pull us through now.
Oh.
You got to do your best for us, make us look good here. So to that end, I have created for you a template. And you can just put your work right in this, but it tells you everything that you need to have in your work. You know, it can't just be a flowing narrative. That it must have these sections and these pieces and parts in it. This is technical writing. And so once you get that figured out, and so I made you this first one, y'all need to make the second one just like I did. Now, you know, if I can make one, you can make one. And it gives you an example of what, you know, how writing a competency should look like. And it goes through and tells you, we want information here. This is what the direction said to do. And then you can go back and, you know, just like we do, you can go back and to the scale handbook, to the rubric, in the scale handbook on the accomplished column and say, oh, this is what it should look like when they go to grade it.
And Dr. Lamb, they actually, if they can do it individually, but they can choose to do the next template as a team if they want to. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's something you can work on together as a team.
Yeah, you can do that one. You know, that would be my suggestion. That's a great idea, is to get together and do a little Zoom session where you divide it up, or whether you sit down and do your own template. I mean, because that way you will teach yourself the directions and what's got to go in there. And when you make that, I mean, can't be hard. I did it in 30 minutes or so, an hour. And it's time well spent designing your own template. And yeah, I would do that as a group. That's a good idea. Design your own template for the app sale. And it'll go much better for you if you'll do that. So let me go back to my desktop here. Zoom's hung just a second here. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, so here's the template that you're to use when you do the written review of the person's work. It's on the screen right now. You should be able to see it. This is what we're talking about. When you get a person's work, you read it, and then you answer these questions. And this is what you would upload as the written review in the boxes, in the drop boxes in Dr. Stedman's course. You would then, so you're going to do this for the second task. The third task, you'll do the same thing. You'll review it, but that's the one that you'll do a Zoom where you share your written review. Okay, so everybody understands for task 2, you're going to do a written review, and that's all you have to do. And then you post that written review on discussion board, Dr. Stedman. You also put it in Dropbox because it gets graded that you did it. And then for the third task,
Dr. Lamb, also
yes.
I want to let them know I was very impressed with how you responded back to your peers in the discussion board process also, and a lot of this, some of you went into great detail, and a lot of this you were doing already and didn't even realize it. So what you're doing is taking what you were doing in Dropbox and just transferring it to a document now. But some of you did a very, very good, thorough job with feedback to your peers.
All right, so the question is, should we review every member of our group? That's up to Dr. Stedman in terms of, if you got a 4-person group, does he want you to review the other 3, or does 2 or 1? That's up to him.
As long as they have at least 2. At least 2. Some of you are going to want to respond because you've already, some groups have become very strong already, and they're going to just take care of each other. I can tell that already. So, but as long as you have 2, we're okay.
That's good. So as long as you have 2. Now, Dr. Stedman is going to show you when next, again, I'm sure, when next that y'all meet together, he's going to show you in his shell 2 places that you put your reviews. One is back in discussion board where you download the document to review. You put it back there so that the person that you reviewed can see it. You're going to put 2 back. But also, you're going to put it in assignment Dropbox because he's going to grade those as well and how well you did reviewing your peers. So there's 2 places to put your reviews, the written reviews. Also in that assignment Dropbox, it will let you upload 2 things. One will be the written review, and starting with task 3, you will upload the video that you made. So the Zoom Master records the video, processes the video, uploads the video to YouTube, shares that link with their group. That group can then upload that link in that Dropbox.
And Dr. Lamb, each one will be responsible for, if there's 4 people in a group, the Zoom Master will send it, but each one of you are going to send that link as a part of your assignment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
That's correct. All right, so okay. We just did another Zoom ourselves. And so I'm going to, can y'all see that on the screen? Can y'all see where I'm doing, where I just recorded one and I just named it? Can y'all see that on the screen, Dr. Stedman?
I can, yes.
All right, so what happened is I just recorded the Zoom. It goes to my file manager down here at the bottom of my screen. When I click on that, it pops it up, and it's always named Zoom 0. This is very important. When you get to task 3 and start recording these things, they'll all be labeled Zoom 0. And if you don't go in immediately and change the name to the name of what happened and the date, they'll all look the same to you. So now I've got this one changed, the name changed, and so what I'm going to do with it then, I have to close my file manager. Minimize that. Now I'm going to go to YouTube, my YouTube channel. And if you've got a Gmail account, it will let you do this. And so this is my channel. You got to establish your own YouTube channel. And when you do, you just go to the area that says upload. Can y'all continue to see this?
I think the pictures on the people's pictures on the site were hiding it.
Okay, so I moved that out of the way.
Okay, yeah.
All right, select file to upload. It will automatically, in your documents folder of your hard drive, it will create a Zoom folder for you. You click on that Zoom folder and open it up. Right there is 9/12, today's date, right on the top. I open that up and I should see Mel's Coaches Zoom meeting 9/12/17. I click on it, I open it, and it will start uploading it immediately. And as soon as it's uploaded, you just hit the publish button, making sure it's public. All right, and there's the link where that video can be found, and that's what you send to your classmates. It's just that simple. The main thing is make sure you're recording with Zoom, make sure that you rename the file something other than Zoom 0, and that you upload it into YouTube. Make sure you set you up a YouTube channel, and we've sent all these directions are in Dr. Stedman's shell. He's giving you all these directions. And so if we go back and look at, let me move this out of the way. Move that to the top. If we go back and look in the peer review kit, it's back on the screen now. All the things that I've just told you are here in this kit right here. Now, if you're not all you folks should be a lot more technology savvy than me, old Santa Claus here. If you'll go back to your scale handbook, all these directions that I just gave you are in the scale handbook on how to create, set up, and load items to YouTube. All this is in the scale handbook. I can actually pull that up and show it to you right quick. So if you go to your scale handbook, which is on Dr. Stedman's class shell, down toward the back of this, there it is. The peer review process. We're using the new form, not the old form. This is the old form. And it tells you how to go about doing Zoom, how to do Google, and how to do YouTube. Right there's your directions. They're all in your handbook. But I'm sure that all of you folks have already done this. Y'all know how to upload to YouTube. Okay. So Zoom for week 3, not week 2. Yes, that is correct. You do the review, the written review for week 2, for task 2. For task 3, you do a Zoom review. We're going to give you another week.
So Dr. Lamb, remind them when they submit for week 2 that they need to have their written review attached as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to written review, task 2 only. We're going to written review and Zoom task 3. So whatever weeks those are due. There you go. So that's right. Okay, yeah, that sounds right. All right. Okay. Is first recorded Zoom that must be uploaded is peer review for task 3. That is correct. Written peer review in Blackboard and Dropbox for week. Yep, that's right. Okay, will we have reviews one upload file or separate files for each of the reviews in Dropbox? You have separate places in Dropbox to put them in. But now, when you go to Dropbox and it says peer review task 3, there's going to be one Dropbox, but you can use it twice. Let me say that again. I've set those boxes up, or Dr. Stedman has set those boxes up so that when you click on in Dropbox, the place to put your peer reviews for task 3, there's 2 of them. There's the video link and there's the written review. That box will let you can't put them both in at the same time, but it will let you use the box twice. First time you put your written one in, second time you put your video one in. The link to the video one. Do not try to upload MP4s in Blackboard. Only upload the links. Blackboard will not, they won't allow that. It takes up too much disk space. You can only upload the link to YouTube in Blackboard. Don't be trying to put MP4s in. They even limit us as instructors about our videos, but they won't let students put videos in. I could show you how to backdoor it, but then they'd be mad at me. So just put your link in. Okay. Let me go back to chat. Okay. All right. All right. So this is the template that you're going to do the written review on right here. This is the one. You've got it in your course shell. And once it sounds kind of cumbersome, but once you get all this figured out, it's fairly easy. You just, every task you're going to peer review. So the 4 of them you're going to Zoom and do. You're not going to do it for all the tasks. Just for the 4 selected tasks that Dr. Stedman has designated, you will do a Zoom review of those. We want you to get comfortable using Zoom and using technology, but in the end, what's most important is the content of the evidence artifact.
Right.
Zoom is just a vehicle. It's just a way to share it. So don't get enamored with the video. It's a good thing, but the content of the work is what we're really most concerned about. Let me go back. I got another question here. Task 2 should be a relatively short narrative based on what is expected. We need to hold PLC how tackle student data. Let's go back and look. So if we look at the evidence narrative for task 2, we'll research available data, instruction. You'll have your data collection strategies, your criteria for identifying your most pressing need, collaborative data analysis, and what you've determined your most pressing need is. This one should not be very long. Let me pull up my exemplar that I also emailed you this week. And if we look at it, this looks just exactly like yours. It looks like the template. PLC selection, PLC meeting. Task 2, let's see how long this took. Data collection through. And there's the data, and there's her most pressing. There's her most pressing need. What was that? 2 pages, 3 at most. You're exactly right. This is a relatively short narrative that now we want you to show the data that you made your decision on. You didn't just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We want to work on this. It needs to be supported by data.
And Dr. Lamb, as a general rule, the best thing to do is to look at your 3 most recent years of test data. That gives you something to disaggregate and to analyze. So if you can get that, the best thing to do, and you can show that in there. There's a trend. You can see a trend based on that. So if you can, the 3 most recent years of test data serves as a good benchmark to get that from.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So she's shown her data here, and that shows that there was a reason why they picked that as the most pressing need. They didn't just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. One that we spoke about in our first task, this correct? Well, in task 1, now remember these tasks are all linked. In task 1, you set up your PLC and you went about to start doing your data, your data assessment. In task 2, you tell what your data assessment was, and you looked at your test scores, and you found out that this is your weakest area, and so this is going to be our most pressing need. So yes, all these tasks are linked. 1 goes to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. They are not separate entities. You're still on the same thing. You set up a PLC specifically to look at your data. You looked at your data, this is what you found. You present that data. This is why we decide this is our most pressing need.
Dr. Lamb, while we're talking now, there may be a few there because of their unique situations. They may not be looking at test data per se when it comes to the most pressing need. Please address that at this point.
Well, I see some stuff. I see some data on things other than test scores. I'm not enamored with that.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. Every public school in North Carolina and South Carolina is required to do a local instructional initiative for closing the gap. And it speaks to test scores.
And even and the charter schools as well that we're dealing with.
All the charter schools are public as well. They're public
Right.
schools. You have to do a closing the gap initiative on your test scores. That's what we're training you to do. Remember, the 6 evidence artifacts mirror the same process that you will employ as a school principal to develop your school improvement plan. The first one, the APSEL, is your instructional component of your school improvement plan. It should be based on instruction. I saw one recently that was attendance. They said attendance was their most pressing need. No. It might be school-wide, but we would address that later on down the road, we would address that either in the skip or the cap. We would address school attendance. And you know, the APSEL is about student learning. Now, the last time I looked, and I've been in the business, this is my 40th year. Last time I looked, if you wanted kids to learn more, you had to teach them more. Now, people will argue, well, if they're not in school or if they're not behaving, well, you know, if a frog had wings. I mean, but we're talking about putting an instructional component in to address gaps. That's what the APSEL is about, looking at data.
Right.
Looking at test score data. Yes, if kids are there more, they'll learn more. But just because they're there doesn't mean that they'll learn more. We've found that out over the years in education too. That's maybe the biggest fallacy in education, that if kids are at school, they're learning. That's not necessarily the case. If we've got good instructional programs, if teachers and kids are in the room at the same time and they're engaged in a good instructional program, they'll learn. But kids can be there and teachers can be there. But if there's no engagement, they're not learning. And so the whole idea of the APSEL is to put a learning program in to address gaps in test scores. I don't like attendance. I don't like discipline. I'm sorry. We can address those in the skip and the cap later on. If those
that was a setup. That was a setup question, Dr. Lamb, because I knew what direction you were going to go in, but I knew that we had people from just all facets of the educational arena that were with us. So everybody needed to know that the APSEL, what the focus was, and that those other things that may be more in tune with what they do, they're coming later because they'll have that opportunity to address those things.
Yes, they will. All right. So I'm answering emails at the same time here. I'm getting emails from students.
I saw a question from Rory. He asked about looking at school-wide literacy. If that is the need in the school, the pressing need in the school, is going to show on the test scores. And yes, he can look at school-wide literacy as a problem. Yes,
that's what we're looking at. We're looking at literacy. We're looking at reading scores. We're looking at math scores. We're looking at something that comes out on your report card is what we're looking for. Something that matters. Attendance, yeah, that's on your report card, but we can address that later when it comes time to look at those cultural kinds of things or parent involvement kind of things. We've got we've got the skip coming up next, coming up as the fourth of these that looks at parent involvement and looks at communicating with parents for the purpose of getting kids in school and working with kids. We've got the cap that looks at discipline, and you can look at attendance in the cap as well. The fifth one. This one is solely about student learning.
Right, and all of that other, you're going to have to develop, you're going to have to do action plans, and when you do those action plans, all of those other things are going to be in your action plan, how you're going to, if attendance is a problem, then attendance is going to impact student learning. So you're going to address at that point attendance or whatever else, discipline or whatever else it is in those action plans, and you're going to look for strategies that's going to improve attendance, improve discipline, because it automatically will improve student achievement if you've got those things under control.
Mm-hmm. And so we are going to get to those things, but school is about teaching kids. So here's this one. You get to hear one of my favorite things is when you can kid me about and write it down and roll your eyes about later. Every time I leave and I go to Wilmington or somewhere down to Goldsboro or somewhere in that area, I get on 40 and I travel east on 40 until I get to Raleigh. And then when you get to Raleigh, if you know what I'm talking about, 40 turns from west to east. When you get to Raleigh, Highway 40 turns directly south and heads to Wilmington. And when you go around the curve, as I call it, the next exit there is exit 303 off of I-40. Going west, but now you're going south, and it's in Garner, North Carolina, and the name of the exit is Jones Sausage Road. Now, Dr. Stedman and I work that area regularly. We've had a lot of interns there in Garner, and we always get off on Jones Sausage Road. You know what they do at Jones Sausage? They make sausage. You know what we do in school? We teach kids. That's our mission. That's fundamental. That's who we are. That's what we do. There's a lot of pieces and parts that come together in school, but our primary objective is to teach kids. That's what we do. There's a lot of pieces and parts over at Jones Sausage, but their primary objective is to make sausage. There's a lot of moving parts to that, but you've got to be focused on what your major objective is. Our major objective in the school business is to teach kids. That's why this one starts as the very first one. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is the most important thing that we do is we instruct children. So we're looking for gaps in that. That's what we're doing. So some questions on the screen. Yes, you have in-class data or DIBELS. For primary grades, you have the EOGs and EOCs for the upper grades. And so you have plenty of data. You have EVOS data. You have all of that. So you've got plenty of data to look at that is instructionally based. All right. I am part of my SID, and we're currently developing one now. Our SID is the most pressing need is not math gaps. However, is a need that we have listed. Is that okay? Yes. Are you in? Okay, Counselor C. They should have reading assessments in math and reading, yes. Days, DIBELS, comprehended M-class. That's correct. If you can see, can y'all see the chat, the answer on the screen? And so, yes, there's plenty of data out there. You've got, no matter what grade they're in, no matter what level they are, there's plenty of data out there. Use that data as your starting point. Now, once you have set up your PLC, once you've analyzed your data and you figured out what your most pressing need is, what you do in best practices in task number 3 is you do some research to figure out what other people have done that had similar problems. And you're looking for a goodness of fit. As I told you last time, make sure that the fixes that you're recommending to implement have worked in a school that looks like yours. That's why we're having you do this literature review. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody somewhere is in a similar situation to you, and they have figured out something that works. So that's why we have you do an annotated bibliography in the area of need that you have to try to figure out what you ought to do. And then, of course, in your best practices, and then your action plan says, this is what we're going to do. And then for your action plan, and then you summarize that action plan in either a graphic organizer or into a PERT chart like this. Now, the template I've got has got my graphic organizer that we've used for years in the Mills program. I prefer a graphic organizer because it says who's going to do what, where, and when. It's very logical. PERT chart is more creative, I will acknowledge. But if we went back and we looked at this template here, you can do a graphic organizer. Says this is what we're going to do, this is when we're going to do it, this is the person's responsible, here's the resources we need, formative assessment we're going to do. Now, formative assessment is not halfway through measuring the kids again. Formative assessment is always of the adults. Are they implementing with fidelity what you want them to do? Let me say that again. Formative assessment is you're evaluating the adults in their presentation for fidelity. Are they implementing the program as it is written, as you want it to be done? And then summative is you measure the kids at the end of your goal and your indicator of success. People say, well, what's the difference between your goal and indicator of success? Well, our goal might be to raise reading scores 15 points. But our indicator of success for this year might be if we raised them for 3 points this year. Your goal is where you want to go in the end. That's where you're headed at the end. But your indicator of success are your midpoint checks to make sure that you're heading in that direction.
As long as you don't go backwards or stay where you are.
Yeah, stay where you are.
You want to at least make progress.
So your goal might be to move your test scores from 65% to 80%. But you can't expect a 15-point jump in 1 year. An indicator of success would be 3 to 5 points. In standardized testing, generally, one standard deviation is 5 points. If you can make one standard deviation, you've done well. If you make a 5-point gain. So goal is where you're going to go eventually. Indicator of success is what we're expecting up front now. All right.
Dr. Lamb, although I was at a low-performing high school one time, and we actually, in 1 year's time, made a 15% increase in scores in 1 year. So it is possible.
Yeah, it's just not probable. It's possible
No,
for my
it
hair.
is possible.
It's possible for my hair to grow back. It's not probable. So, don't set yourself up for failure with know. I see that too often in education. Folks in the central office, and Dr. Stedman and I used to be one of those too. I'd rather not remember that. But, when we were principals, it always drove us crazy when they said, we want to see, this much growth in 1 year. Now, if you give me enough small steps, I can get up on the roof of this building. But I'm probably not going to be able to get back and get me a run and go and jump up on top of the building all in one time.
Right.
And so, it's little chunks. If we make a point or 2 or 3 games, we've done well.
And that's how you sustain usually when you make those kind of gains. If you make big jumps, usually you do go back because it's too much at one time.
Yeah. I'm getting text too. All right. So I'm answering texts and emails and chats all at the same time here. Let me see. Go back to the chat again. Let me answer more some questions. Yes, you can get data from. You can get from your administration. Your AP, your instructional facilitator. You can get data from Power School EVOS. Their data is everywhere in schools now. It's not a secret. They publish your report card. North Carolina report cards just came out, and look at them. If you want to know what's important, look at the state report cards. Those are the things you better be working on as a principal, because those things become public. Action plan sounds very similar to our PDP. Well, good. Somebody's catching on. It absolutely should sound like a PDP. Okay, if you're having problems with your principal, you might want to try to hook up with an assistant principal. That's a good question. A lot of principals are very busy, and I understand that. I met with Emily last week, and she's got Robert. Robert was one of my students, and so if he doesn't help her, I'm going to give him knuckle bumps. Let us know. We may know somebody. If you're having trouble with a principal, maybe we can make a visit, or maybe we can hook you up with an AP that will help you. Don't suffer in silence. Let us know if there's something, on your own. Try your AP. And if you don't get any success there, let me know. Let Dr. Stedman know. We'll see what we can do.
Dr. Lamb, also, if they have not met with their clinical coach 1 yet, they can reach out to that clinical coach 1, because they're in proximity to where they live, and even if they've been one time and they need to go again, they can go again if they need to, if there are those kinds of problems.
Yes, that's exactly right. More chat questions. Okay. We're good on that one. All right. More emails coming in, more text. All right. So therein lies the app cell. And trust me, you will thank us down the road if you stick to instructional things. And it doesn't have to be something big, but if you'll stick to instructional things, when you start your app tel here in a little bit, you're going to be happy, because you can kind of piggyback your app tail on your app cell if you did it in instruction. And also, when you do task 2 of your OMA, which is the third of these, you can basically copy what you did in the app tail if it's instructional, where you lead a group of teachers in staff development, and that's what you're going to do. And if you start instruction in app cell, then you do staff development with them in AppTel, in that identified need. And then when you get to the OMA and task 2 of the OMA, it asks you to lead a group in staff development. You've already done that. And so, task 2 is already written in the OMA, and everything ends up good. And all that feeds into your master schedule, which you build in the OMA. So the first 3, if you start with instruction, all just flow really easily, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel on the first 3 of the evidences. We change gears in the fourth of the evidences. We change gear and start with parent and community. But you can also have family math night that supports your math initiative from your app cell. So you can even link your 4th one to skip to them. Then we change gears, for real in the 5th one, where you're doing the CAP, where you're going to look at cultural things and discipline and those kinds of things. But the first 4, if you start with instruction, flow together really easily, and you can use the same PLC to knock the first 4 out, and then you can use that same PLC for your CAP, the 5th one. There is no new work in the 6th one. It's just compiling things you've already done in the first 5. And so if you start out with instruction, they're really easy. You can do attendance or you can do discipline in the first one, but then when you get to the second one, you're going to basically have to start all over again in the AppTel. I'm just telling you up front, I do this for a living every day, all day.
Dr. Lamb, I saw a question from Gina Mack. Yes, Gina, you can use a beginning teacher on your team. I have no problem with that. And Emily asked a question. Again, look at this. Again, all of it's been laid out for you. And if you follow the templates and you follow everything step by step, it's like baking a cake. If you follow the recipe and you do exactly what the recipe says, you're going to get a good cake at the end. But if you follow that recipe and then you leave the egg out, guess what? It's not going to hold together. So you've got to make sure that you include all the ingredients step by step. The originality comes with what you put in between those layers.
Yeah, and every school's different, so they're going to be different.
Yes.
But if you don't start out with instruction in the first one, you'll just basically have to start again in the AppTel.
Right.
And you're going to be that far behind. If you start with instruction in the first one, the first 4 will flow really easily for you. This is the way it works. Everything's supposed to be tied together in a real school improvement plan, and that's what we're trying to get you to do here. So hopefully you'll get started with something instructional and it'll work out for you. Tomorrow I am visiting. I'm visiting Tamara tomorrow in Tryon. Tamara doesn't know this, but I'm originally from Tryon. So it's going to be old home week for me tomorrow. I'm going to get to go home. So I'm excited about that as well. I'll actually put on a necktie tomorrow and a coat and tie. You won't even know who I am. I look like 2 other fellas. Do we have a team reflection form as well as the peer review due for this task? So Dr. Stedman, you did the team reflection form for the first task?
Yeah, what was it? What was in the let me look back, Dr. Lamb. The team reflection form, that was simply they were to just they remember that was where they had to do the pie graph or the pie chart, or just to kind of look at their team and see where everybody was at this point. Nothing fancy. No, I told them not to overstress over that or to make it harder than what it was supposed to be. Talk about that, Dr. Lamb.
All right, so you start out with that one. This is just the purpose of that is to only use it for the first task, to kind of get you in the habit of looking to see what's the content. And then on the second task, you do a written review using the peer review form. And then you will use that form from their own. We didn't feel comfortable with you doing peer review form on the first one until we fully explained what we were doing. Everybody got up to speed. Everybody's work looked, a certain way. And so we just had you do a team reflection on the first one. Second one, you'll use the form only. Third one, you'll use the form and you will do a Zoom review. And then from here on out, you'll use the form on every task. And then the selected ones, the selected tasks, you will do a peer review as well. And you'll look at your schedule for that. But you will peer review starting with task 2. You will peer review all the rest of the tasks this semester and each semester after this. The reflection form was just a starting, just a starter.
No,
so
that is actually due this week, Dr. Lamb, the reflection form.
Yeah, and then you'll switch over to the reviewing, to the peer review form, and then we're doing baby steps here. We're not starting you with the hardest stuff to begin with. We're kind of inducting you in so that you don't all leave us. I was so glad today to see the new spreadsheet that we hadn't lost anybody this week. And that's important to us, is that we give you the support, that we give you the steps to get you there, so you're not overwhelmed in the beginning. I know you think you are, but it's not too bad yet. And so once we get you started and once you learn all these things, it'll become second nature. By the time you hit the second course, you're flying by then, and this stuff becomes second nature. It's fairly easy. You'll have caught the rhythm by then. So just, bear with us as we're, this is the way we do things in terms of we give you, steps that you can build on throughout the process.
Dr. Lamb, I think Tracy asked the question, if you go to the Dropbox for assignments, just like you put your philosophy of education in there, there's a link for you to put a place for you to put that assignment in there. You will get a grade on that from me. So you go to that same place where you put your philosophy of education, and there should be a place for you to drop that assignment as well.
And then starting with task 2, you'll go to the assignment Dropbox and put it where it says peer review. You'll put the completed written peer review there, and then with task 3, you'll go
For this assignment, I think they have to scroll down and find it. It's going to be down near the bottom.
Okay. But it's all there. We build these shells out before we even start. It's all there. And so task 2, you'll do the peer review, and then task 3, you'll do the peer review form and the video. You upload both of those in assignment Dropbox. Task 4 is a written review only, I believe. It goes in that assignment Dropbox. And then when's the next peer review, Dr. Stedman? Is it 5? Task 5 they do a peer review of, I believe.
I'm having to look through
the schedule. But anyway, we've got it set up there, so
and I'm going to continue because it has worked. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from, at a certain point this week, I will go back and I will do the email to everybody, and it'll be just a reminder of where you should be, and then a glance at next week. I think that has helped tremendously, because they can just focus on what is due this week, and then begin looking at next week. And it's helped me as well. It's helped organize my thoughts as well. So I will continue to do that.
All right, so we have some questions on the screen. When we chart the team reflection on chart, is this as a group or an individual? It should be as a group. Reflection form and task 2 were due this week. I'm confused on the team reflection form and the peer review form. Team reflection form is different from the peer review form. Emily, you're shaking your head. We only use the team reflection form one time for the first task. After that, you're going to use the peer review form for all tasks after that one. That's just
Dr. Lamb,
activity in MEL 601.
I'm going to make it easy for them, because this is just for me to see that you know what you're doing. It can mirror the
peer review
The peer
form.
review form, I
If
don't
you want
care.
to.
I don't care. You don't have to, I told you don't make it hard. You could actually, I'm going to go ahead and make a decision. If you want to use that form because you're just practicing on it, you can use that form and send it to me. I just want to see that you know what you're doing before you have to actually do it next week.
You know, we have a couple of starter activities. One's philosophy of education, and one is this, just to make sure that you're not hurting yourself on the technology, that you can upload stuff with, use sharp instruments here without hurting yourself. That's what we're doing. So the first couple of activities are just starter activities.
And that's what that is. I don't want anybody to, don't stress over that. Unless you just bomb on something, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you're going to be fine. And so we start getting serious with task 3. Got to do a written review and a peer review. So, from then on, we expect you to be up to speed. First couple of tasks, we're letting you learn. We've got a couple of starter activities so that you can use Blackboard. Everything's good. So, we're not going to leave you behind. We're going to make sure everybody can use the technology in the first couple of tasks. And then, we've given you a week off or so from doing peer reviews. We won't do a Zoom review of task 4, so that if you're behind, you can catch back up again. So we've spaced those out so that if it takes you longer or you're having trouble getting together, you've got a little time on those till we kind of get you going. Later on, according to the instructor you may Zoom review every one of your tasks. That's up to the instructor, but in 601 we only do 4 for a reason, so you can catch on and know what you're doing. So as much work as we're having you do, we are actually being mindful that you are neophytes in this, and that we're trying to get you started and get you where you can self-sustain your momentum and go on your own. That's the idea.
Dr. Lamb, one student asked the question, you are reflecting on your team, is so that you can begin understanding that those are the people you're going to be working with this semester, and so you are reflecting on your team. Again, I'm not looking for a biography on every one of them. I'm just looking that you understand the concept and that you know how to make the right kind of comments. That's all I'm looking for.
And that you can use the technology.
And the technology, yes.
So the question is, can one person from our group submit the team? You can have one reflection, but all of you should submit it. He's got a place for each of you to submit it in your Blackboard shell for 601. And that's a graded assignment. Again, it can't be wrong as long as you get something in there. And so if you all do it as a group, that's fine. Yeah,
I have no problem. In fact, I like the fact that some of them love their group, working with their groups.
Mm-hmm. And so, this is a group effort. It doesn't have to be. What we're trying to mirror is a few years back, most of our classes were face to face, and students worked together in groups, and we didn't want to lose that component of the program when we went online, and so we're still having that group work component and sharing with your peers. There's a lot of value in that, so that's why we're continuing to do that. But we had to find a new and different way to do it. But because it's technology based, we have to kind of bring you along and get you up to speed on the technology as well. That's the downside is that everybody's not at the same place with technology. Okay.
Dr. Lamb, while you paused, I'm going to go ahead and make a decision because I think they're all at this place. I'm going to, Dr. Lamb and I, at this point, unless we see a need to, I'm not going to schedule a Zoom session with the whole group next week. I think you need that time to work with your groups, and then you can communicate with me if we need to. I'm going to give you a break from us after tonight for not next week, because that is when you've got to come together and begin, your Zoom links and your peer review. So we're going to leave you alone so you'll have time to work with your groups, and we won't take your time, but we'll still be there for you. How is that, Dr. Lamb?
And so we'll come back online with them again in 2 weeks on the 26th.
And 2 weeks. But now I'm going to still be in constant communication with you. You'll still get emails from me. Dr. Lamb will respond to emails.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we see, and I don't think there will be, if we see that there is a problem or need or it's big enough for the whole group, then I will come back and make an executive decision and say, Dr. Lamb, we need to pull them back together, but I don't think that's going to happen. So,
all right, I think that's a good plan. I think that's a good plan.
I'm going to wean you from the bottle just a little bit.
Yep. Yep. So eventually, what will happen is you won't have to have us every week. We'll, eventually during your classes. Now, I'm still old school. I still meet my classes every week. I have a standing appointment with all of my students on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, and we get online and talk and laugh and have a good time every week. But that's just me. Some of the other instructors only come on 5 times. The requirement is you got to come on 5 times a semester. So you may have an instructor and a coach that only comes on 5 times a semester. You may have me, and I come on 15 times a semester.
Well, this won't happen a lot, Dr. Lamb. I'm just doing this on purpose because I want to see where they are with things next week.
And so, I think it's a good plan. But again, I'm always available by email or phone if you're having problems. If you need support, if you need me to read work, whatever you need me to do, I'll be available. But we're going to turn you loose for a couple of weeks and see how it goes and make sure that we've got you to the point where we need to have you, that you become self-sustaining learners. That's the idea. So the question here is, your team reflection needs a simple chart attached to it as well. That's up to Dr. Stedman. If you use the form, if you use the peer review form, you can.
I don't want just a narrative. There needs to be some type of organizer. Yeah.
Yeah. Needs to be some type of
it doesn't have to be fancy, but just some type of organizer.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But I've given them permission to mirror what we already have, if that's what they choose to do.
If you want to use that graphic, if you want to use this one, if you want to use this one right here, that's fine with us. This is the one you're going to start using every week after the first task. You're going to start using this one anyway. If you want to use it, it's just an organizer. This is a graphic. This is a graphic organizer. This is what we're talking about. Something that organizes your thoughts, that makes sure that it looks at each individual component. If you like this one, use it. If you want to make your own, that's up to you. You can use a pivot table or use a graphic organizer. You can use one of the functions in Microsoft Word to make your own table. We don't care. We're just interested that you know what you're doing. This is to make sure you can use the technology and that you know what you're doing. Another question coming in. The calendar says put the results in a bar or pie chart. Well, that's what he's telling you. You can put it in the graphic organizer. If you don't want to do that, that's what I was talking about. If you go to Word and Word will create what we call pivot tables, which are pie charts and graphs. If you don't want to do that, if you don't know how to do that, just use this one. If you know how to do that, up on my screen right now, if you can see it, I can hit insert. And I can do tables, I can do pictures, I can do charts and graphs. That's what I'm talking about. If you know how to use all these things here and you want to create your own, that's up to you. You can create any number of things. You can create charts, or you can just use this graphic organizer here. That's up to you. If you want to do if you want to add a chart and you know how to do that, or you can go to Excel and create charts. You can create charts in Excel as well. If you have that level of technology expertise, go right ahead. If not, just use this one. Again, you've got to find your comfort zone with that.
Dr. Lamb, I would encourage you again, if you can. Now, most of you were able to. Try to get your the draft of your Apsel draft 2, task 2, try to get it in as early as you can this week and put it in discussion board so people can start looking at that. And then you go back and look at what you did for task 1 of the Apsel, task 2. You've already made comments. Those are the same things that you're just taking those same comments and you're putting them in a graphic form, and that's what that assignment will be that you'll turn in to me by 9 o'clock Sunday night.
Yeah. So the question on the screen is, if we use the form already provided, we do not have to create a chart or a graph. That is correct.
Yes.
If you use Dr. Stedman's here, if you use this one, he's going to let you use this one, the regular peer review form, instead of making your own. That's, we're just interested that you can use the technology. So yes, that would be correct. All right. Okay, effective tips. Okay. All right, peer review tips. This is going to be the last thing I cover tonight. Now, remember, you're moving into peer review now. You're going to do, you did the reflection for the first task. For the second one, you're doing the written peer review. For the third task, which you should be there by the time that we meet again, you'll be doing the written peer review form as well as a Zoom review where you read your forms to one another. Here are some tips or suggestions for doing effective peer reviewing. Refrain from getting advice or feedback from other people in other programs, other instructors, or other clinical coaches. It causes confusion. Contact me or Dr. Stedman. Don't discuss grades. Learn how to administer negative criticism with a positive outcome. Learn to accept negative criticism and grow from it. Use the Clinical Experience Blackboard site to get additional help if needed. You've got your XM intern shell. You can go to your XM intern shell, which is right next to your 601 course in Blackboard. You click on that, and you can put work in the discussion board for everybody to see, or you can go to MEL 601 for the 3 or 5 semester program. Click on that, and I've got drop boxes where you can put work directly into me, and only I see it, and I will comment straight back to you on that. Remember, coursework is handled through Blackboard. The internship clinical experience is maintained through TaskStream in terms of when work is done. We're going to teach you how to put it in TaskStream. TaskStream is not available yet. We're still waiting on it. It should be here. I followed up on it again today. It should be here soon. So, we're going to, when that becomes available, we will teach you. I will do a general town hall for all interns to teach you how to use TaskStream. That's coming as soon as your accounts are established. It's a money thing. They have to wait till drop ad, get your money, the fees, pass it through. We're hoping to get that done by the end of this week. We'll have you in TaskStream, and then I will, as soon as I'm given the go-ahead, I will announce a coaches, intern town hall for all 160 of you, and I will be the one that will go over and teach you how to use TaskStream. Behind is a place where it is difficult to demonstrate leadership. If you get there, get out fast. That's what we're talking about. We're trying to get you up to speed quickly. We're giving you baby steps, but we're trying to get you up to speed quickly so you can, be a self-sufficient learner. Read the rubrics carefully. Examine every word, every phrase. Don't do most of it and expect positive results. That's why I created this template for you. It's exactly why I created the template, because some of you were missing every word and every phrase, and some of you were missing some of the directions. And that's why I went back and highlighted on the template everywhere you're supposed to put something in. I think folks were just kind of glancing at that stuff. Never forget that this program is designed to develop leadership skills through competency development. Know the competencies and learn to speak in those terms. We will start speaking competencies once we get to TaskStream. That's not something new or different. That won't be anything else for you to have to learn. That's pretty simple stuff. But so when we start developing our competency folio in TaskStream, which is basically where we prove that we did our internship hours and that we did actually do our evidence artifact, we did write about them, we did them. You'll provide proof that you did the things that you said you did in the competency folio. But it's really easy stuff to do. It's hardly any work at all because you're already doing the work. So those are some effective tips. And again, as soon as I get the word, I will come online and for all of us, and we will start learning how to set up our how to establish our TaskStream account. and how to set up our competency folio and what goes in our competency folio, and how to do the other tasks in task stream. Doesn't take a lot of time. You do most of the work here in class and in Blackboard, and then you just put it in. Task stream is just a repository. You put it in at the end, and we'll teach you how to do that. It's not that difficult. All right.
Okay.
Next chat question here. The evidence artifacts for task 1. Oh, the artifacts will be posted for task 1 will be posted in your competency folio once we get that up and going. So the artifacts that were developed, like your agendas or minutes or things like that, we'll put those in a task stream folio, a competency folio. We'll show you how to put those in there, and you'll have those because you generated them by doing the work. You just have to put the proof in that folio. You can take a screenshot. You can do scans. You can do really quick and easy things. It doesn't take long to establish if you did something. If you did it, you can even take pictures with your cell phone of documents, or you can do screen grabs. I mean, there's any number of ways that you can prove that what you did by doing these things. And you just upload those in a folio. That's all you have to do. That way we know you did what you did. We are required to keep that in a separate place by our creditors. So if there's ever a problem when it comes time for you to get your license, you have not only your log of activities, the 80 hours every semester, but you have proof that you did those 80 hours, other than just a written log. You have an actual folio that has pictures and icons and artifacts in it that shows, yes, they did what they said they did in those 80 hours every semester. That is a fail-safe for you, so that there won't ever be any question of whether you did your internship hours or not. So that goes into task stream. And all of your final evidence artifact work, the app cell, when it's done, it goes in there, the final one, not the parts, not the task, but the final one goes in there for a final grading. That final grading is just it's just a step to go through. If you followed everything and done everything that you've done that you're supposed to, the state grading is no big deal. We don't ever have anybody that doesn't pass that. So if it made it through and got there. Now, if you didn't peer review it and you didn't listen to the things that we told you and you put it in task stream anyway, then there'll be a problem. But if you've done all the things that you're supposed to do, it's just a formality when it goes to task stream.
But they shouldn't put anything into task stream until they are instructed by you and me to do so.
That's correct. When we tell you it's ready, then we'll tell you when it's ready. Now, you can put things in your competency folio any time as you go, but
right.
Your 6 evidence artifacts, you don't put them in until we tell you that they're ready to be put in there and be state graded.
Because when we tell you it's ready to go into task stream, at a minimum, you will be proficient at a minimum.
We won't let you put it in until it is. We don't want there to be a problem with the state grading.
But you should strive for accomplishment on everything that you do.
Absolutely, you should. Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
I think that's it, Dr. Lamb. It's been a good session, though, and I thank so many of you for participating. Again, thank you for the good work that you've done, and I expect as good or better that you're going to give me by the end of this week.
All right.
But they're doing a great job.
Email us with any questions that you have. Dr. Stedman will record that. He's recorded this. He will process it, upload it, and send you the link. I will see you in 2 weeks. I'm available. Call, email.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Peace out.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Lamb.
Thank you.